You have faced thousands of battles. Some you have won, most you have forgotten. The argument with a stranger, the race against a deadline, the quiet struggle to get out of bed on a morning heavy with despair. But there is one battle that never ends. It is the first you fight when you open your eyes, and the last you wage before sleep takes you. It is the war inside your own mind. The voice that whispers, just as you're about to take a chance, you're not ready. The cold hand that grips your heart when you imagine failure. The endless rehearsal of what could go wrong until the possibility itself becomes a cage. What if I told you that your greatest opponent has never been a rival, a circumstance, or a critic? What if your true enemy has been with you all along, not out there, but in here? This enemy is the mind that doubts you, and this is how to defeat it. Let us understand this adversary. It does not wear a mask. It does not carry a sword you can see. It is a shapeshifter, a master of disguise. It is the urge to check your phone one more time instead of starting the work that matters. It is the conviction that your idea is not original enough, not perfect enough, and so it must be shelved. It is the social anxiety that convinces you your silence is safer than your voice. It is the exhaustion you feel not from labor, but from the anticipation of it. This is the voice of the enemy, and it has a name. In modern psychology, we might call it the ego, the inner critic, the saboteur. The Stoics called it the fantasia, the misleading impressions of the mind. The Buddhists call it the monkey mind, chattering, restless, fearful. But to the great Japanese swordsman and strategist Miyamoto Musashi, it was simply the weakness within, the hesitation that in a duel meant death. Musashi, who won over 60 duels, understood that the battle was never against the other swordsman. It was against the flicker of uncertainty in his own heart. A samurai could not afford a mind that second-guessed. The sword had to be an extension of a will that was absolute, a spirit that was calm, like still water. But here is the great paradox. This enemy, this voice of doubt, was not born to destroy you. It was born to protect you. Eons ago on the savannah, this voice was a vital ally. Its job was to scream danger at every shadow, every unfamiliar sound. It prioritized survival over all else. It told you to stay with the tribe, to not risk being ostracized because exile was a death sentence. It told you not to hunt the mammoth that seemed too large, to stick with the smaller, safer game. It was a brilliant mechanism for a world of immediate physical threats. But we no longer live in that world. We live in a world of abstract, psychological and creative threats. A world of launching businesses, of publishing our art, of speaking our truth, of forging a unique path. And the protector has become the jailer. The same mechanism that once screamed saber-tooth now screams they'll laugh at you with the same primal intensity. The instinct that said Don T leave the tribe now says Don T stand out. The fear that said Don T hunt the big mammoth now says Don T apply for the promotion. Don't write the book. Don't ask them on a date. The enemy within mistakes the blank page for a predator's maw. It mistakes the possibility of rejection for the certainty of exile. And so it holds you back. It keeps you small. It keeps you safe. Or so it believes. But a life defined by this kind of safety is a slow death, a quiet suffocation of the spirit. The modern world has given this ancient fear a new lexicon. Imposter syndrome, perfectionism, analysis, paralysis, social anxiety. They are all masks worn by the same primal fear. Musashi wrote in his Dokudo, "Do not fear death." He wasn't just being brave, he was being strategic because he knew that the fear of death was a greater weapon in the hands of his enemy than the enemy's actual sword. A mind gripped by fear is a mind already defeated. Your enemy within has been using this same weapon against you your entire life. It's time you learn to disarm it. You are not the first to fight this war. The terrain of the human soul has been mapped by warriors, philosophers, and sages for thousands of years. They left us guides, not for slaying dragons, but for taming the chaos within. Let us begin with the way of the warrior, as taught by Musashi. His most famous text, the Book of Five Rings, is not merely a manual on sword fighting. It is a treatise on strategy, on perception, and on the relentless pursuit of self-mastery. The central tenet of Musashi's philosophy was kensei, the swordless victory. To win without drawing your blade, by understanding your opponent's spirit so completely that they are compelled to yield. But the first and most important opponent you must understand in this way is yourself. He wrote, "Today, victory over yourself of the self of yesterday. Tomorrow, your victory over lesser men. Let that settle. Your progress is not measured against the success of others. It is measured against the person you were yesterday. Did you hesitate a little less? Were you a little more disciplined? Did you act despite the fear? That is the only victory that matters. The battle is incremental, fought in the small choices of every single day." He spoke of the undefeatable mind, a state of spirit where no external event could shake your inner resolve. This mind was not a gift, but a forge. It was built through relentless training, through solitude, through embracing hardship as the fire that tempers the steel of the will. "Perceive that which cannot be seen with the eye," he said. "This is the call to see the inner enemy clearly, to see the fear before it becomes a feeling, the doubt before it becomes a decision." Now let us travel west, to the Stoa of Athens and the court of Rome, to the Stoics. Epictetus, the slave who became a great teacher, began his Enchiridion with a truth so simple it is almost painful. Some things are within our power while others are not. Within our power are our opinions, our impulses, our desires, and our aversions, essentially our inner world. Not within our power are our body, our property, our reputation, our office, essentially the external world. The root of all suffering, the Stoics argued, is the delusion that we can control the uncontrollable and the neglect of that which we can absolutely control, our own mind. The enemy within thrives on this delusion. It makes you anxious about the outcome, the external, the uncontrollable. What if they don't like my presentation? What if my business fails? What if I get rejected? The Stoic response is not to guarantee a positive outcome. It is to focus exclusively on your own action, your own virtue, your own effort. Can you control the result? No. Can you control the quality of your work, your courage in presenting it, your integrity in the process? Absolutely. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who commanded legions, wrote in his private journal, Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And then from the East comes the wisdom of Zen and Taoism, which offers not a battle but a release. Zen teaches the concept of mushin, no mind. It is a state of fluid awareness, without the interference of the ego, of fear, of past or future. It is the mind of the archer who releases the arrow without thinking, and it finds the target. It is the mind you have when you are completely absorbed in a task, and the critic is silent. How do you achieve mushin? Not by fighting the thoughts, but by letting them pass like clouds in a vast, sky-like mind. You observe the doubt without becoming the doubt. You see the fear without being consumed by it. The Tao Te Ching says, "The sage acts without effort and teaches without words." This is the principle of Wu Wei, effortless action. It is not inaction. It is action that is so perfectly aligned with the moment, so free of internal resistance, that it feels like a river flowing to the sea. There is no struggle, only flow. These three streams of wisdom, the warrior's resolve, the Stoic's focus, and the Zen master's release, converge on a single powerful truth. The enemy within is defeated not by brute force, but by profound understanding and precise discipline. You do not shout down the voice of doubt. You understand its origin, you refuse to let it steer, and you dissolve its power through correct action. Musashi gives you the sword of will. The Stoics give you the shield of discernment. Zen gives you the empty hand that needs no weapon. The war is silent, it is invisible, but its battlefields are everywhere. You have stood on them, often without knowing. The battlefield of the blank page. The enemy attacks with perfectionism. The first sentence must be a masterpiece. It attacks with comparison. So many have already written about this, and better. It attacks with overwhelm. This project is too big. I'll start tomorrow when I have a clear block of time. The cursor blinks, a metronome counting the seconds of a dream deferred. The battlefield of the conversation. The enemy attacks with imagined outcomes. If I say this, they will get angry. They will think less of me. It fabricates entire narratives of conflict and rejection before a single word has been spoken. It convinces you that the temporary discomfort of honesty is worse than the permanent resentment of silence. The battlefield of the gym. The enemy attacks with inertia. You're still tired. You worked hard yesterday. You can skip just this once. It is a master of rationalization, dressing up surrender in the clothes of reason. It whispers that comfort is the goal, and that the pain of effort is not worth the gain. The battlefield of the dream. The enemy attacks with the specter of failure. The market is saturated. What if you invest your savings and lose everything? Remember what happened last time? It uses your past not as a lesson, but as a chain. It paralyzes you with a future that does not yet exist. In every one of these moments, the enemy is not the task. The enemy is the resistance you feel towards the task. It is the emotional friction, the gravitational pull of the comfortable, the familiar, the safe. The first and most critical step to victory is simply to see it, to catch the enemy in the act. The next time you feel that urge to procrastinate, that knot of anxiety in your stomach, that voice listing reasons why now is not the right time, stop, take a breath, and say to yourself, "Ah, there you are. This is the resistance. This is the enemy within. Do not judge it, do not fight it yet, just name it." By naming it, you separate yourself from it. You are no longer being doubtful. You are observing the doubt. You are the warrior who has just spotted the opposing army on the ridge. The battle is not over, but the element of surprise is gone. You have regained a sliver of control. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca said, "He who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than is necessary." Your enemy's greatest trick is to make you suffer the failure 1,000 times before it even has a chance to happen. By recognizing this, you refuse to pay a debt you do not owe. Every time you choose to scroll through your phone instead of working, you are feeding the enemy. Every time you avoid a difficult conversation, you are strengthening its fortifications. Every time you let the perfect be the enemy of the good, you are handing it a victory. But the opposite is also true. Every time you act, despite its screaming, you starve it, you weaken it, you prove its predictions wrong. Musashi did not become undefeated by waiting for inspiration. He became a master through a regimen he called the way of training. This was a path of relentless, daily discipline aimed at unifying the mind, body, and spirit. For us, the sword is not of steel. It is the sword of our will, and it must be forged in the daily fire of practice. Musashi's principle was simple: become acquainted with every art, not to become a dilettante, but to develop a flexible, adaptable mind. For us, this means stepping outside our comfort zone deliberately. The programmer learns to paint, the accountant learns a martial art, the writer studies physics. This cross-training of the soul prevents the mind from becoming rigid, from building its identity around a single skill that it then becomes terrified of losing. It teaches the mind that it is capable of learning, of being a beginner, of being imperfect. But the core of his method was in the daily grind. He wrote, "Do not let the body follow the mind, nor the mind follow the body. Be neither mindless nor bodiless." Let's break this profound instruction down. Do not let the body follow the mind. Your mind will come up with a million reasons not to act. I'm not motivated. I don't feel like it. I'm tired. If you wait for your mind to feel ready, you will wait forever. The solution is to make the body act first. You get out of bed before the mind can negotiate. You put on your running shoes before it can list the reasons to stay. You open the document and write the first sentence before the critic awakens. Action creates motivation. It does not wait for it. Nor the mind follow the body. The body, in its primal desire for comfort, will crave sugar, sloth, and distraction. It will want to hit the snooze button, to binge watch, to choose the path of least resistance. You must not let the mind be dragged into this swamp of inertia by the body's lazy impulses. The mind must command the body towards what is right, not what is easy. Be neither mindless nor bodiless. This is the balance. This is the harmony. It is not a brutal war of willpower where you hate your body. It is a respectful partnership where the conscious, disciplined mind guides a body that is trained, capable, and resilient, and where the body, through its actions, provides the evidence that builds the mind's confidence. So, what is the modern way of training? It is the ritual of the morning. You design the first hour of your day before the world's demands invade. This is your kata, your solo practice. Perhaps it is meditation, to quiet the enemy's chatter, journaling, to objectify your fears on paper, exercise, to teach the body discipline, and reading philosophy, to arm the mind with wisdom. This ritual is not about productivity. It is about setting the hierarchy of command. It is you telling yourself loudly and clearly who is in charge. It is the cultivation of the single point. Musashi spoke of holding the combat stance in everything you do. For us, this is the practice of deep, single-tasked focus. When you work, just work. When you listen, just listen. When you eat, just eat. The enemy thrives in distraction. It cannot stand the full, undiluted power of your attention on a single point. Each time your mind wanders to doubt or fear, you gently, without judgment, bring it back to the task at hand. This is the repetition that builds mental muscle. It is the embrace of solitude. Musashi spent years as a wandering swordsman, often alone. In solitude, you are forced to confront the enemy directly, without the buffer of entertainment or social validation. You hear its voice more clearly, and in doing so, you learn that its voice is not your command. Start with 10 minutes of silence a day. Just you, breathing, watching the thoughts come and go. This is the forge of the undefeatable mind. This way of training is not a punishment. It is a liberation. The stricture of the routine is not a cage. It is the scaffolding that allows you to build a self that is free from the chaos of a reactive mind. As the Roman poet Virgil wrote, "Fortune favors the bold," but the Stoics would add, "Fortune favors the prepared." The boldness is meaningless without the training to back it up. You have recognized the enemy. You are engaged in the daily training, but the voice will still speak. It is a conditioned pattern, a well-worn path in the neural landscape of your brain. So now we move to the advanced tactics, the real-time disarming of the inner critic. Technique 1, the Stoic premeditation. The Stoics practiced premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. This sounds morbid, but it is a psychological superpower. It involves vividly imagining the worst-case scenario, not to fear it, but to disarm it. The enemy whispers, "What if you fail?" You respond consciously, "Okay, let's say I fail. My business goes bankrupt. What then? I will have learned invaluable lessons. I will have to get a job. It will be humbling, but I will survive." What if they reject me? Then I will know where I stand. I will be no worse off than I am now, living with the uncertainty. Their rejection does not define my worth. By walking mentally into the worst-case scenario, you rob it of its terrifying power. You realize that you can handle it. The monster under the bed, when dragged into the light, is often just a dusty old suitcase. This is the application of Epictetus' dichotomy. You separate the event, which you can't control, from your judgment about it, which you can. Technique 2. The Zen Reframe. The enemy says, "I am terrified of this presentation." You reframe using the language of Mushin. There is a sensation of energy in my body. My heart is beating fast. My palms are sweaty. These are physiological facts. By detaching the raw sensation from the story of fear, you take away its emotional charge. You are no longer a terrified person. You are a person experiencing a racing heart, which is simply the body's way of preparing for a moment of focus and importance. You welcome the feeling. Ah, here is the energy I need to be sharp. This transforms the enemy's weapon into your own fuel. Technique 3. The Musashi cut. This is the technique of decisive, immediate action in the face of hesitation. Musashi spoke of the one strike, one kill principle, the decisive initial blow that decides the contest. When the enemy tells you to put something off, you do the exact opposite. You take one small, immediate physical action right now. The enemy says, "Clean the garage tomorrow." You respond by walking to the garage and putting one single tool away. The enemy says, "That email can wait." You respond by opening the email and writing the first sentence of your reply. The enemy says, "You're not ready to start the project." You respond by setting a timer for 25 minutes and working until it beeps. This is the one strike. It is not about finishing the task. It is about breaking the spell of inertia. It is a demonstration of power to the enemy within. You are proving through action that the command center is under new management. Technique 4. The parable of the blade. Imagine a young warrior who complains to his master, "My mind is clouded with doubt. I cannot make it stop." The master takes him to the forge and shows him a blade, pitted, rough and dull. "This is your mind with doubt," he says. He then begins to heat the blade, hammer it, fold it, and plunge it into cold water. The process is violent, loud, and intense. He does this again and again and again. Finally, he holds up the finished sword. It is mirror-bright, sharp, and strong. "This is your mind after you have worked with the doubt," says the master. "I did not silence the hammer. I used it. I did not avoid the fire. I embraced it. I did not fear the water. I used it to temper the steel." Your doubt, your fear, your hesitation, these are not your enemies to be slain. They are the fire, the hammer, and the water. They are the tools of your own forging. The goal is not a mind without doubt, but a will that has been strengthened by the doubt. And so we arrive at the heart of the matter, the final understanding. Defeating the enemy within is not an event. It is not a single glorious moment where the voices cease forever. That is a fantasy. The victory is a state of being. It is the realization that the enemy was never an alien invader to be destroyed. It was a part of you, a misguided protector, a fearful child. The victory is achieved when you stop fighting it and start leading it. When the doubt arises, you no longer see it as a command to stop. You see it as a signal to focus. When the fear arises, you no longer see it as a reason to retreat. You see it as the energy for courage. When the resistance arises, you no longer see it as a wall. You see it as the path. This is the resolute acceptance that Musashi and the Stoics spoke of. Musashi. The way of the warrior is resolute acceptance of death. We can translate this for our inner battle. The way of the master is the resolute acceptance of discomfort, of failure, of not knowing, of being judged. You must make peace with the death of the ego, the part of you that needs to be perfect, to be liked, to be safe. You must let that version of yourself die so that the stronger, truer version can be born. The victory is when you can look at the difficult task, feel the full force of the resistance, and still say, "I am doing this anyway," and then you do it. The victory is in the quiet confidence that comes not from a guarantee of success, but from the knowledge that no matter what happens, you have the discipline, the wisdom, and the courage to handle it. You are, as the Stoics intended, an inner citadel. The outer world may storm and siege, but the core of you remains unshaken. When you achieve this, a profound shift occurs. The war is over. Not because the enemy is gone, but because you have integrated it. You have understood its language, you have learned from its warnings, but you have taken away its power to veto your life. There are no more enemies to conquer, because the only one that ever truly mattered has been befriended, understood, and mastered. So, what now? The theory is nothing without practice. The wisdom is empty without action. Look at today, right now. What is the one thing you have been putting off? The conversation? The project? The commitment to yourself? It doesn't have to be a mammoth. It just has to be one step, one strike. That email you've been avoiding, send it. That phone call you dread, make it. That first page you think you can't write, write it. That walk you promised yourself, take it. Do not do it because you are guaranteed success. Do it precisely because you are not. Do it as an act of defiance against the enemy within. Do it as a ritual in your way of training. Do it as a demonstration to yourself that your spirit is stronger than your fear. This is how you forge the undefeatable mind. Not in a year, not in a month, but today, in this choice, and the next. The enemy's greatest lie is that you have time, that you can start tomorrow. But tomorrow, the enemy will be stronger, fortified by today's surrender. And you will be weaker, your will softened by the comfort you chose. Do not let the sun set today without a victory over the self of yesterday. The path is not easy. There will be days you falter, days the enemy wins a battle. That is okay. The master has failed more times than the beginner has even tried. The key is to return to the way, to begin again, to sharpen the blade once more. Remember the words of Marcus Aurelius, a man who carried the weight of an empire, yet whose greatest battles were fought in the quiet of his own mind. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Stop arguing with the doubt. Stop negotiating with the fear. Act. The world does not need your perfection. It needs your courage. It needs your work. It needs the unique contribution that only you can make. A contribution that is currently being held hostage by a frightened part of your own mind. Set it free. The enemy has had its say for long enough. It is your time now.